Okay, we're back for lesson 11, part 2. And the next thing we're going to be talking about is using live effects. And effects will alter the appearance of an object without changing the underlying artwork. You're going to just apply this through the appearance attribute, and you can also edit it, move it, delete it, or duplicate it at any time in the appearance panel. Now there's two types of effects in Illustrator. There are your vector effects and your raster effects. And we've discussed the difference between these two in class. If you go to the top half of the effect menu here, and we'll get that open up. So you go to the effect. You'll see that you have two sections of different effects that you can use. And you'll notice you have Illustrator effects and Photoshop effects. And this will pretty much tell you, Illustrator is basically a vector-based program. So all of these effects that you use up here will be vector effects. And the ones that you use down under the Photoshop effects will be raster effects. And if you remember, raster files are bitmap images, and they're pixels. And so the resolution will change when you do resize those objects. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply an effect in the appearance panel. So with my selection tool, I am going to select the trumpet group on the artboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Now, in this area here, it's going to default to multiply. We want the opacity to be at 100%. We want the X offset to be at a 0.03, the Y offset at a 0.03, the blur at a 0.04, and then rather than color selected, we want darkness selected at 50%. Now you can go ahead and preview it to see what the effect will look like, and then you're just going to click OK. Now you can edit an effect as well, and if you look over at the appearance menu here, you'll see that the drop shadow has now been added. So I'm going to click on the drop shadow, and you'll see that the drop shadow operations have come up here in this panel. We're going to go ahead and change the opacity to 75% and then click OK. And then we're going to go ahead and go Object Ungroup. And what's basically happened now is that the drop shadow is no longer applied to the trumpet group, okay, because it affects the group as a whole. If the objects are no longer grouped together, the effect will no longer be applied. So I'm just going to go back to Edit and Undo. And now we have that effect actually with that group. So you could see the change that took place. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stylize text with a warp effect. Okay, and we did this back in lesson 7 when we were adding type to the poster. So with the selection tool, I want you to select the May 10th, 17, and make sure you're on the text box as well. And then we're going to choose Effect, Warp, Flag. And you'll see automatically that I get some changes, a warp style here. And I'm going to change the bend to 20%. Okay, and the preview's on, so I can already see what it's doing. And you can look at the different types of options that you have here. But for this one, we're just going to stay with the flag. And we want to make sure the distortion values are set at 0. And then if you want, if you don't like that bend, you can change it and click OK. And now you'll see that over in the appearance panel, the warp flag does show up. So with the warp text object still selected, we're going to click the visibility icon on the warp flag to turn the visibility off. And what I want to show you is that the original text is still there. And this is a style, okay, an effect. Now, if I put that effect is still there, but it's not operational right now because I do have it turned off. But if I turn it back on, you'll see that it comes back up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the text tool, and we're going to change the 17 to an 18. And then go ahead and click out of there and go ahead and save this operation. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply the offset path effects. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to offset the stroke for the jazz text, okay? And this will, this process allows you to create an appearance of multiple stack shapes. So I'm going to click the stroke color in the appearance panel, okay? And I'm going to make sure that the white swatch is selected. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and you can hit escape to close that panel. And then with the stroke attribute row still selected, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to Effect, Path, and then you're going to go Offset Path. And you want to change the offset to a negative 0.04. And again, you can click Preview to look at it, but click OK. And you'll notice a difference in the look here. And then in the appearance panel, click the disclosure triangle next to the left of stroke 1 point. And you'll notice that the offset path is here and is applied only to that stroke. And go ahead, select, deselect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to apply a raster effect. And we're going to do this to the word festival here in Photoshop. So with the selection tool and selecting that text, you're going to go to Effect, Texture, Texturizer. Now remember, this is a raster operation, and you can see that this texture has already been applied. And again, this is a filter gallery, very similar, just exactly like actually what you see in Photoshop. And you have different things here. You have number 1 with the A. This is, you know, the thumbnail of your image. And B, these are the different types of filters or effects that I can apply. And this is the current effect that I've selected, and this is the texture that I've selected as well. And then this is where you can change the different percentages here. So we want canvas, which is a default, and then we want 110 for the scaling, a relief of 5, and the light is going to stay at the top. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now we have that effect applied to the festival. And you can see as you roll over it, you can see the other text there without the applied effect. Okay, so moving on. Right now we're going to do a 3D rotate effect. Okay, and if you look in your book, they give you examples of some of the things you can do with 3D effects, such as extrude and bevel, and revolving and rotating. So again, with the selection tool, we're going to select the jazz text. And then we're going to choose Effect, 3D, and Rotate. And what's going to happen is the 3D rotate options will come up. Okay, and what we're going to do is the x-axis is going to be put at 10. The y-axis will be at a -20. And the z-axis will be put at a 10. Perspective will remain at 0. And the surface will have no shading. And you can select Preview which mine's, oh, it's taking a second to work here. So, okay, so notice the warning at the bottom of the 3D rotate, which it doesn't, when you're ready to do this, it's telling you that the gradients will be rasterized. So the gradient that we have in this jazz text fill will be rasterized. Now another thing you can do is you can click and drag on the left side of this box and rotate it. And just remember that the face of the track cube, it's blue in color to the right. Notice what happens to the text as you rotate along. It's kind of cool. Okay. So you want to rotate and my computer is moving very slow. And I'm going to kind of get it to this point, and then I'm going to click off axis front. It's going to take a minute here. And do a little bit more dragging. So it's similar to looking like this. And then click OK. And then go ahead and save your file. So we're going to end this part here, part 2, and the next thing we're going to be doing is using more graphic styles. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll record this, and then you can come back to part 3.